Hi you guys, this is Elsa and welcome to Achromatopsia and the saga that is my life. Um, Today's video is going to be a little different. I like to make these videos for parents of children who have achromatopsia because I feel like it gives you a little bit more of an insight on what it is to be us or see like us. So it gives you guys like a perspective kind of for you to understand your child's vision a little better. So I always like to, share my stories, share things that have happened in my personal life, because I feel like it does help other people. But anyway, so today's video, it's going to be sort of like a ranting video, but also to share my experiences and something that I went through recently. By the way, I'm doing this in my cat's playroom, so if you see random cats in the background or jumping in front of me, that's what's going on. But anyway, so as most of you know, I have 3 children. From my first pregnancy, my firstborn, he's 14, and then my 5th pregnancy, my son, his name's Daniel. He was born stillborn. He would have been 6 years old if he was around today. And then my 13th pregnancy, my daughter Justice, she's 2.5 years old. And all my pregnancies in between, I miscarried. So there's that. But obviously my daughter, my youngest, she is my miracle baby. She's very special and I love her. She's my whole world. So anyway, when was it? In the middle of last month of December, we all got sick. Everyone in my household got sick. And we assumed it was a cold, but the following day, my parents, they also lived in the house with us, they tested positive for COVID. So my mom called me and she was like, you know what, I don't think you guys have a cold, you should all get tested. So we bought those rapid at-home tests, and of course all of us tested positive for COVID. So that same night, we took my daughter to the hospital. Hi. Sorry. We took my daughter to the hospital because she had a fever. And as most of you know, my 2-year-old, she was a micro preemie. She was born at 30 weeks, but she was the size of a 22-week-old. So she was 1 pound, 2 ounces, and 10 inches long. So she had to stay in the NICU for 3 months. So she's considered high risk. So I took her to the ER because I was freaking out. She's never been sick before, never. So the fact that she had a high fever really scared me. We got to the ER. Since we were all COVID positive, I wanted all of us to get checked out, but they didn't want to. They just kind of brushed us off and were like, we really don't want to have we really don't want to have a waiting area full of COVID patients. There's other sick people here. You guys just go home, wait it out. There's really nothing you could do about COVID. You just kind of got to quarantine, wait it out, and you'll feel better. But I did not feel comfortable going home unless my child got checked out because, like I said, she's high risk. So once I kind of got Mama Bear on them and was like, you know what, I will not go home until she is checked out. I do not feel safe going home with her like this. So they checked her out. She did have a really high fever. So they just basically gave her fever medication, and that was it. So we spent a week at home, and she didn't want to sit up, she didn't want to play, she didn't want to crawl. She just wasn't being herself, but I knew it, COVID, it was affecting her. I also had really bad symptoms. I had body aches, really bad migraines, and I lost my smell, my taste. We all pretty much felt pretty crappy. So I know, what she was going through. So anyway, Christmas morning, it was around 6 in the morning. I had to give her fever medication every 3 hours so it wouldn't, get worse. And at 6 in the morning, my alarm went off, and I noticed that she was breathing really fast, and it just wasn't normal. So I told my husband, you know what, we're gonna have to take her to the ER. This is not okay. So we took her in right away. It's Christmas morning. As soon as we got there, they checked her oxygen level, and it was in the 60s, which is really bad. So right away they admitted her. They had to transfer her to a children's hospital because the hospital we went to was the closest one, and it wasn't a children's hospital. And I knew that. I just wanted to get her checked out right away. So anyway, they sent us to a different hospital, and we ended up being there for 2 whole weeks, 14 days. So this is basically what my video is going to be about. So since we were both COVID positive, we couldn't stay in a regular room. We had to be like in a room way off in the corner. It was 3 walls, and the fourth wall was like glass window. So I kept telling the nurses I felt like we were like in a monkey in a zoo, because all the nurses would walk by, or doctors would walk by and stop, and then either stare or like talk about us, and we're just right there. Like it was an experience for sure. But anyway, they let me know as soon as we got there, since I'm also COVID positive, I would not be able to leave that room. So from the moment I walked into that room to the moment my daughter got discharged, I would not be allowed to leave that room. Which at the time I was like, whatever, doesn't matter. Just let me get in there and be with her. So it was just so, I swear I have PTSD now because of this. It was just intense. I feel like as a mother, you stress over everything with your children, and especially if your child is sick. And she was very sick. She was in ICU. She was in critical condition. She had COVID. She had adenovirus, which is another version of the flu, and she had severe pneumonia. So her little body was just tired of, fighting this at home for so long. So, sorry. Let me make this clear before I continue. The medical attention that she received was amazing. Thanks to the doctors and the nurses, the plan that they made, the treatments that they gave her, the antibiotics, everything they did for her is why she is here today. Everything was just amazing. But the thing I have a problem with is some of the things that were going on while I was there. In this room, like I said, it was 3 walls. The fourth wall was like a glass door. There was no restroom. There was just a toilet and a sink off in the corner with a little, like a small privacy curtain. And that's what I had to use the whole 14 days I was there. In order for me to keep myself clean, because I like to be clean, I had to give myself like little bird baths in this sink. And I used like a little tub to wash my hair and stuff. And that was rough. Because as you all know, hospitals are freezing. And I'm skinny. Like, I'm always cold. And then to have to shower or take sponge baths, sort of, in that freezing room was intense. But anyway, so because we were COVID patients, every time nurses or doctors would come into the room, they had to be suited up in their little, like, I call it spaceman outfits, because they were, like, covered from head to toe, which, of course, I understand. They work with other patients, they have other children on that floor, and they don't want to, spread COVID. So I get that. But every time they came into the room, they had to do that. So it was a lot, and, I feel like a lot of the times they would not want to go in there because, they have to do all that. It was to the point where anything that's in that room, it can't come out. So even when they would get suited up and they had to leave the room, they would take off their spaceman outfits in there and throw it in the trash and leave. So nothing, like I said, from that room could leave. Even when they were giving my meals, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they couldn't give it to me in the regular like plastic stuff that they would give everybody else. They had to make my meal separate and put it like in disposable things. So every time I would finish my meals, I would throw it in the trash, because nothing, like I said, that went in that room could leave because it would be contaminated. But anyway, so in the 2 weeks we were there, they had day shift and night shift. And let me tell you, a lot of the nurses there are amazing. Like, they're really good at their job. But there was also a lot of other nurses that I feel like were scared. And I get it. COVID, it's scary. Believe me, I was feeling the symptoms. So I get it. But they would try to, I feel like, avoid going in that room as much as possible. So things that I was led to be aware of later on, they should be doing. They had to do. They would have me doing it. And like I said, my daughter, she's micro preemie. She has a feeding tube since day one, since she was born. She has an NG feeding tube that goes into her nose. She won't eat or drink anything by mouth, so I provide her nutrition. She has a little feeding pump that I need to hook her up to every 2 hours, and she eats and drinks through this pump. But everything in the hospital is different. I feel like everything is like very like technical, and it's just different. So like with me in general, if I need to learn something, I need someone to not talk me through it, but physically show me how to do something. And that's how I remember, I learn. But there was a lot of nurses that didn't, I guess, really want to go in the room because they would have to get suited up and everything. So they would talk to me through the door. Okay, you need to set this machine up. You need to do that. You need to do this. Oh, here's her medications. Give them to her. And they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to be doing those things. So I felt a lot of pressure. Like I said, at the time, I didn't realize that I'm not supposed to be doing these things. I just did them. But it was very stressful because, I mean, I kept second guessing myself. And when it comes to my vision, I am not ashamed of my vision. I am, it is what it is. But I also feel like the conversation about my vision is something private and it's very personal. So it's not something that I'm like, tell the entire world about. It's just something that if I choose to, I will. If I don't, I won't. So I feel like being in the hospital had nothing to do with me. It had to do with my daughter. So I didn't really feel, one, comfortable and like it would be necessary to talk about my vision. But because I chose not to let anybody know about my vision, I struggled a lot. And that was my fault. Like I said, the machines are like computers there. They're very different. And I struggle with computers, like with the glare, the small print. But again, because I didn't say anything, I struggled. I had to, every time the children in the ICU, when they go to the bathroom, they get their dirty diapers, they have to write down in their charts whether it was pee or poop, and they have to weigh the diapers. They had a little scale in there, and because she was going so often, they didn't want to go in there. They would just be like, okay, I need you to weigh this. I need you to tell me what the scale says. And the writing is kind of small. So it was, like I said, very stressful for me to deal with that. And learning her feeding pump there in the hospital, it's like a little spaceship. It's just, towards the end, I obviously learned it. But in the beginning, it was very hard to learn that. But like I said, that was my fault because I didn't, let anybody know, hey, I have a hard time seeing this. But anyway, so the whole time we were there, it was very stressful. It was very scary. She was in critical condition. So as a mother, it is stressful just watching your daughter go through all these things and, constantly having chest x-rays, having blood work done, having treatments done. She's traumatized and she's very scared of nurses. So the fact that they were constantly doing stuff to her, it was a lot. It was a lot to see her go through it. And, she doesn't understand. She doesn't know that they're trying to help her. But it was sad, to watch her go through that. But like I said, everything they did for her was amazing. They helped her so much. It was just a lot for me to deal with the whole, like I said, little things. And it got to the point where towards the end of us being there, one of her nurses told me, you know what, you're so good with her. You have so much patience. You help us so much. Every time we come in here, everything's already set up. You already did everything. You changed her diaper. You changed her linens. Like, you have her clean. Like, you do everything. Have you ever thought about going into nursing? And while I was flattered that, she gave me that huge compliment, this nurse doesn't know that I was frustrated, that I wasn't doing all this stuff to help them. I was doing it to help my daughter because the majority of them weren't doing it. So I'm not going to let my daughter just sit there and not be cared for. Something as simple as her feeding schedule. At home, she's on a strict feeding schedule because if you get behind on it, it's going to mess everything up. So in the hospital, they weren't too concerned about her schedule. So I had to do it. So anyway, I felt comfortable with this nurse, and I actually let her know about my eye condition. And as I'm talking to her, her eyes just got real big and was like, "Oh my God." She goes, "I had respect for you before, but now, like, how do you do this? How do you care for her?" Because my daughter is considered special needs because she's on a feeding tube. So the care that's involved with just her daily life is a lot. Technically, she should be getting home nursing because she does qualify for it. But I take so much pride in caring for her. Everything that she needs, you technically do need to have some sort of training. And I did. When she was born, like I said, she was a micropreemie. She was in the NICU for 3 months. So in those 3 months, I learned a lot. I also did my own research. I went Google crazy. And that's another thing I wanted to make this video about is I feel like people with my eye condition, or just anyone in general that's partially sighted, you get underestimated all the time. And I feel like we also do it to ourselves. We second guess ourselves all the time, or you just feel like, I can't do this, I can't do this. But I am here to tell you, if you put your mind to something, you can do it. Like I said, there's a lot of things that we can't do, but there's also, I feel like there's more things that we can do. And there's even some things that we just need a little help on or more time on, but we can do them. So, I mean, I don't know if people with my eye condition can technically go and be a nurse. But I am very proud of myself because I'm able to do a lot of things that nurse trained people should only be able to do. But because I put my heart and soul into caring for my daughter, I can do it. I never second guess myself anymore because I've been doing it for 2.5 years. And I am, like I said, very proud of myself that I'm able to care for her. I am even extra proud of myself that I went out of my bubble in the hospital and was able to learn all their machines, all their, ways of doing things, all their medical training in a matter of 2 weeks with my eye condition. Like, that's pretty awesome, I think. And like I said, when I was describing my vision to this nurse, she was like, "Are you serious? Like, how? And I don't really know how. Like I said, I just feel like if you put your mind to something, you can do it. And it was very rough having COVID and going through the bad symptoms and feeling like crap, and then still, having to do stuff, having to work, having to care for your daughter because other people weren't on it like how I'm on it at home. But I did it. I'm proud of myself. And it felt really good to be told, you do so well that you should consider going into nursing. And while that isn't something that I would be interested in, I'm doing this just for my daughter because it's my daughter and I love her and she deserves it. She deserves the world. But like I said, I am very proud of myself that I'm able to do everything I do for her. And we got home a few days ago. She did great. She's so much better. Her pneumonia is gone. The only thing is because COVID decided to attack her lungs, she had to be discharged on oxygen. But it's very little oxygen. So that in itself is another new thing that I'm having to deal with, her being on oxygen. And it's a little scary, but when she was a baby, she came home on oxygen. And I think it was scarier back then because she was smaller. But like I said, technically she should be getting home nursing, but I'm doing everything for her. And in the 2.5 years that she's been on this planet, except for this time, of course, she has never been sick. My daughter has never had a cold. She's never had a cough. She's never had any infections. And that's all, one, because, of the grace of God. And two, because I when I say I am on it with this child, I am. Like, I take such good care of her. I take all the precautions that I can take. And, to this day, there's a lot of family members and friends that have not met her because I'm just being cautious. You know what I mean? You never know. Something as little as a cold for someone else could be deadly for a child. And that's exactly, what happened. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys, to share a little bit about our COVID experience, and to also let you guys know anything is possible. like I said, I was praised up and down. By the time I left the hospital, you know, that nurse talked to another nurse, and everybody kind of found out about my eye condition, and they were just like, how did we not? Nobody noticed, nobody knew. Like I said, because I also chose not to say anything. But everybody was amazed that I was doing what I was doing, and you know what I mean. No one had any suspicions that I couldn't see right. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm sorry I made it a little long. I said I was kind of like a little ranting video, but I'm very proud of myself, and I'm grateful to be home. I'm thankful that my daughter's healthy. She's okay. She beat COVID, the flu, and pneumonia like a champ. That's what they call him, preemie strong, and that's exactly what she is. Thank you to everyone that reached out and, you know, was messaging me and asking how she's doing, asking how I was doing. All the prayers, they are so appreciative, and obviously they made the difference. So thank you guys. And again, I'm sorry I haven't been, you know, uploading more videos. As you guys can tell, I had a long, crazy stuff going on recently, but I will, you know, try to keep up with these videos. Again, thank you to everyone who is supporting me, my subscribers. All you guys are amazing. I know the nurse in the hospital told me that she was going to subscribe to my channel, so if you're out there, Shannon, I love you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you did for me. You were one of the nurses that made me feel like a human being while I was there, so thank you again. Justice is doing awesome. And yeah, all right, you guys, thank you so much. Take care.